All in all, I just want it to be like supernatural.
Okay.
The way I kind of create content is not really a very curated, organized way. It's like I said yesterday, I just meet people on my way, and if I feel like can have a good conversation with the person, or we could create good content to put out there for people to resonate with or learn something from, or just have a thought that they never thought before.
Right.
Then that's when I want to create content, and I just want it to flow naturally, and we should see how it goes. And I'm personally interested in everything that I'm perceiving here.
Okay.
So I have like lots of questions that I have, and just want to get to know you and the culture, religion.
Right.
So
religion, culture.
Yes. So yeah, we go from there. So I would like you to first introduce yourself.
Okay.
Tell me about yourself, and then we just go from there. Yes.
Okay. I'm Rev. Dr. A.J. Varmah, born in Liberia, West Africa.
Yeah.
Raised in New York City. I'm getting old. I'm 50. So.
Oh wow! Okay. You must be vegan.
No, I eat fish.
Okay, because it's not
giving 50. We walk every day. Walk every day.
Yeah.
You go out, you exercise every day. And I'm the head of the Holy Coptic Church.
Yes.
I'm an author of over 70 books to date.
Yes.
And I'm trying to add my contribution towards this thing that we call awakening, liberating people from misconceptions that many of us were educated with, taught.
Yes.
From very young.
Yes.
To such a level, especially for melanated people, that we hate ourselves.
Yes.
And we doubt our culture.
We do.
We doubt our beauty, from the mocha, the amaretto, the cappuccino, the ebony, the mahogany, the eggplant shades that we are. We've been made to feel that those things are not a badge of honor, but something to feel less than. And so I've had teachers that I've had along the way, and they've taught me a lot of things. One called Imam Isa, this is years ago, from New York City. And what he did for me, what he exposed me to, I knew at some point in my life I would have to take that and pass it on. And so that's all I'm trying to do. And there's so many members that make this possible. It's not just me. There's a lot of people behind me and in front of me, for that matter, that help each day to just try to bring an awareness to melanated people. One of the things that motivates me is I found, being born in West Africa or on the continent, but being raised in America, the diaspora, I think like an American, because that's where I was raised, with my mother's influence and father's influence still there. But the diaspora has a misconception about the continent.
Yes. And
then when I'm around my relatives on the continent, born and raised there, they have a misconception about the diaspora.
Yeah.
So it's like when I'm in Liberia, I'm not African enough. When I'm in America, I'm too African, right? So I'm learning, or I have learned, how to try to bridge that gap.
Okay.
To bridge the misconceptions.
Just one thing, I forgot like a major thing actually. So I have this card game. It's called the Debate Date card game, and it's a question-based game.
Yes.
For us as melanated people to have the relevant conversations.
Okay.
And there's three categories. One is about love, dating, and relationship. One is about the melanated experience. One is about self-reflection. And one is about general topics in society. And we can go through it later. I'm just going to put it here as well.
Okay. And I want to get one because we're doing a program. Started Saturday.
Yes.
The next 5 weekends, 4 weekends to go.
Yes.
Called Love, Lies, and Liberation.
Yes.
Our 4th year doing it. Each year we do at least 5 weeks in different countries. And we will use this for conversation.
I think you'll be aligned.
Yeah,
because
you'll be amazed.
As you just spoke, I thought about a few questions that resonate with a few things you said. And one of the questions was, because you were talking about how you were born in West Africa, but then you came to New York, and then you felt like you are diasporan.
Right.
And for America, you're not American or Black American enough. You're not Black enough, right. Because Black is actually a political term for an African that's not growing up on the continent, really and truly. And then when you go back home, you are not African enough.
Right.
And there's actually one question that kind of reminds me of what you just said, and it is, what is the difference between European Africans what is the difference between, actually, because I'm not reading it out, but the questions are something like, what's the difference between Africans that are born and raised in America, Africans that are born and raised in Europe, and Africans on the continent when it comes to their mindset? So what do you think is the difference? That's one of the questions in the game.
One, I would say Africans born and raised in Europe are normally not third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 20th generation. So they still have a connection to the continent.
Yes.
Right? People from the Caribbean, same. Most people from Jamaica, Trinidad, etc., living in England are maybe third, fourth generation.
Yes.
Melanated people living in America, most have been there 400 years. So that connection to the continent or to the Caribbean isn't there. But that's one group, right? That would be the Black American or African American. But then you have the Caribbean members of that society from Jamaica and Trinidad, etc., who are living in America, living in New York, Atlanta, and they still have some Caribbean link, but they still want to be a part of the dominant culture. Then they get to Africa, and everyone wants to claim our tribes. You know, I'm still this tribe, that tribe. But as time is going on, the next generation of children, they're not even speaking the language oftentimes, right? They've become English. They've picked up the music, the hip hop, the R&B. So what you find is the same situation is happening. Everyone believes their situation is unique, but ultimately we're all having the same experience of seeking identity. The African children want to identify with the hip hop culture of New York City. The New York children want to claim, I'm an American, though being rejected by America. The children in Europe, everyone's chasing the thing that they believe is over there, not identifying with what you actually have. Each is a piece of the puzzle. We need that Caribbean experience. We need that African American experience, and we need the African of the continent experience. And if we can merge those three, which is what we attempt to do doctrinally, right? What we teach is to say, take the Africa, reclaim the Africa back out of each of these things, put them together, and there we'll find our identity. I cannot, as an African, born there, raised there, born there, not raised there, I cannot claim Africa and don't recognize that the Black experience of the diaspora is directly tied in, because we lost the brilliant minds that were taken. That has an effect. That brain drain. You know, they didn't kidnap slaves. They kidnapped brains. People who could do things. It wasn't just about picking cotton or picking tobacco or sugarcane. It was about extracting minds that could build windmills because of what was seen when the colonizers came. Then the continent, we call it colonization. That was slavery. It just, the word colonization makes it sound like a nice thing, like it was a picnic. But Leopold killed 16 million Congolese, cut off hands, limbs, removed babies out of mothers' bellies. So ultimately, we have the same experience, but someone is playing our experience against one another. So I think I'm more Black than you, and you think you're more European than her, and that creates this rift, and ultimately we're the same.
I mean, in America, there's also this argument of that Americans, African Americans. I don't want to speak too much on America because I'm not American, so I know that sometimes Americans are like, "Why are you even speaking about this so much?" But I mean, you are American, and I've been running this page for almost 6 years now. So I have 70% American followers, so I have a fair share of an idea what people think, and I know that there's a lot of African Americans that feel a type of way about Africans in America, the immigrants, because they feel like the African people in America look down on the African Americans, if it makes sense.
Right.
Because obviously lots of times they maybe think they're wretched or they're not really behaving the way, because African culture is inherently based on pride. And also, on pride and
identity.
And identity. And maybe comparing that to how African Americans navigate through American society, some of the Africans may look down on them, and African Americans feel that and feel like the Africans think they're better than them. And then the other way around, there's also some preconceived notions where the Africans do think, yeah, I don't want my child to get involved with the gang violence and everything, because inherently that's not something that really happens in Africa, on the African continent, like
and it's
that.
not something that happens in America.
Gang violence?
No, let me tell you what I mean.
Yes.
The narrative, how the narrative is being painted.
Yes.
Right? Most Africans of the continent don't know that there was an American policy called N, Nancy, S, Sam, A, Alpha, NSA, Memorandum 46. You can look it up.
Yes.
It was put together under Carter administration back in 1976. Literally. Henry Kissinger was the Secretary of State at the time. And it was written to said, we must do everything to keep Africans of the continent and blacks in America from making contact. Because this was at a time, remember, this is when colonial powers were being pushed out of Africa. You understand? Even Fela Kuti, the musician from Nigeria, he learned his Africanness in Harlem.
Yeah, because he was talking about they were not even allowed to speak Yoruba in the school.
Right, so he didn't learn his Africanness in Nigeria. The man responsible for Afrobeats learned his Africanness in Harlem, in New York City. So NSA Memorandum 46 created a separation. So we in the diaspora don't want to identify with Africa when the propaganda of the television shows Africa, baby with a big belly, flies around the nose, buildings dilapidated, huts, no running water, charity. Who wants to identify with that? Now, you and I who've been to Africa knows, no, that's not the case. Well, guess what happens in Africa? They don't show black excellence. Most blacks in America are middle class, working class, political, educated, doing things. No, they go to the one neighborhood, the 1 3-block area in Chicago or in New York, and they film that shot. And then they take that and put it on CNN, Sky News. And so I'm sitting in Nigeria or in Cote d'Ivoire or in South Africa, and I'm watching this, and then I come to America. I don't understand the stress, the inherent stress of living there, right? Living in people coming from South Africa can relate because they lived under apartheid.
Yes.
Right, and apartheid was based off of America.
Yes.
The apartheid regime said we studied America. So they would relate to being a person living under constant stress. Now, of course, there's opportunities, right? Most people, if you're from the continent, you say, well, in America, blacks have all these opportunities. No, in America, blacks in certain areas have opportunities because education is based off your tax dollars. Tax dollars are based off the revenue of the neighborhood. So if you live in a neighborhood where there's not a lot of businesses, your schools don't get the best textbooks because there's not enough revenue being generated from the taxing of those businesses. You understand? So most people, not knowing that, will just see that neighborhood and say, look at this neighborhood. Look at these kids. Look at how they're behaving. Yeah, but they're not getting the funding.
Yes.
So again, a disconnect. There are those who are ratchet, but I've traveled all around West Africa, South Africa, Central Africa, and there's some ratchetness going on in Monrovia.
There's ratchetness going on everywhere.
Because of the propaganda machine of the television.
Yeah.
Painting this picture.
So that's basically what but what I wanted to get to is like, so they have like this preconceived notions about each other, but yet still the question was also, what's the difference between the European Africans, the African Americans, and the Africans that are born and raised mainly on the continent? What do you think is the mindset difference between those three dynamics?
Those on the continent identify with tribe, very tribal. Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, Manding, Fulani, etc. Very tribal. And that depends on which country you go to. I say that because those countries that had to push colonial powers out are very nationalistic because they had to be.
Come together. They couldn't be
They
divided.
had to.
Yes.
It's the only way.
Mhm.
There are countries like Liberia. We were never under colonization, so we don't have a nationalistic mindset.
Okay.
And
I
that's a
didn't know that.
problem. It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. It's good because we're very open to anyone, but it's bad because we're open to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So those countries that don't have nationalism, they have a certain mentality. Those that are Ghanaian, South African, Nigerian, I'm Nigerian. Now, amongst the Nigerians, because of the Biafra wars that took place, you have those that are Igbo, they have a certain understanding. Those that are Hausa, certain understanding. Those that are Yoruba, certain understanding. Everyone, so that's there. But we still find that in the Africans in America. Those that are living in areas where there are gangs, that's their tribe. They're still tribal.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, that the gang culture is
It's
actually a tribal
it's a
culture,
tribal
and it might have
culture.
been transferred
It's
from.
the same, right?
Yes.
And it's always formed when you face danger or problems. You
Yes.
must come together under the common goal of pushing back. The Crips and the Bloods of LA was started because of police brutality. The acronyms of those names had nothing to do with killing each other.
Yes.
It was about stopping the police from coming into the black neighborhood and killing us. So we were going to patrol. We were going to watch them and keep an eye on them and let them know they're being watched and then push back.
And then something with the CIA.
Well, yeah, the CIA understood money. The lack of jobs in these neighborhoods because there's no companies there. So if you don't have a job, you need money. The drug trade, and that started back with Ronald Reagan. The crack epidemic of the 1980s was the Iran-Contra, which was between Panama with Manuel Noriega, Iran, that America now says is our enemy, right, and America. It was a triangle of drugs. So the drugs from Panama would be sold in America. The money in America would be used to buy weapons in order to fund those that we were going to use to overthrow Iran because of what took place under the Carter regime, which was 4 years earlier. Now, all of this is Freedom of Information Act information that now they'll talk because all of the players are dead.
Yeah.
Right? But we are still receiving from that problem. The crack epidemic was created to imprison black men in America, right? Because 1 vial of crack got you guaranteed 6 years. 1 kilo of cocaine got you 6 months. Crack is cocaine. It is the residual of the burning of the cocaine. So blacks in America, we've had an experience.
And then not to think of the repercussions of the people that are using it, because crack itself, coke was used by the white people, but the crack was used mainly by
and the effects was
the community.
The same.
Yes.
Right?
It's crazy.
It decimated, but except when we did it, we were the crack whore and we were the crackhead.
Yes.
When they did it,
mental
was sociable.
Problems and depression and
and the CIA has been doing this for many years. This is the way in which they were functioning. It happens here in England. There's a drug epidemic here no one talks about. And it's been around here for about 40 years. Oh yeah, big time. Crack is here. LSD is here. It's an epidemic. The young kids killing each other is because they're lacing the marijuana with PCP, angel dust. That's happening here.
Honestly, like I think even especially the whole weed conversation. I know people like want to champion like weed and smoking it, and compare it, like connected to Rastafarian culture and things. Have you smelled the weed that is going around here in Tottenham? I don't smoke, but if I do happen to smoke, I'm in a completely different world, and I don't know how people smoke like 3 joints of that a day. A young person, like. You can't stay sane. Well, it's impossible.
It's an addiction.
Yeah.
But they're not telling people, they can talk all the medicinal reasons for marijuana. And I go, okay, why not drink it then? Right? So just a simple thing. You're smoking paper? Yes, paper burns carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is toxic to the body. So why not drink it? If you're really pro marijuana, make a tea and drink it. And everybody will look at you and say, okay, so then it's not about the marijuana. There's a chemical that they're putting in there that's causing you to feel in your brain that you can't function. PCP, known as LSD or angel dust, all of these others, they're lacing it, and that's going to have an effect over these next 5 to 10 years. The knife crimes here in London, it's a result. I saw the other day, I was about to catch the bus, and these young guys, you could see they were about to start something. This energy was about to, you could see it. Why? They're high. They're not in their right minds. But this is, we of the diaspora, we of the continent, we have to get to the point where we recognize that ultimately we are the same.
And we need to, and I feel like that reminds me of one thing about, was it Du Bois who was talking about double consciousness? Was it him?
W.B. Du Bois.
Yes, and he, and it was always looked at something to look down upon in terms of like having this double consciousness of like your inherent African kind of mindset or being black, and then obviously you have this other side where you're born and raised in the Western world, and there's still a part of you that is that, whether you are born, whether your heritage is African or not, you're still born and raised here, and there's a certain mentality you have. And I think he put it more into like a negative thing. But I think as we stand here today, I think that could be something that can be utilized.
It has to.
That builds bridges.
It has to.
We progress our community though.
Right. There are so many benefits that you gain growing up in England or parts of Europe or parts of the United States. Benefits. Opportunity.
Yes.
Opportunity to income, if you can figure it out, to education. Now, what we do with the education, that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah.
Right? No different than a person in the continent.
Yeah.
You can be in Nigeria, you can be in Ghana, you can be in Togo. You can get an education. You can use that education to stay and empower your people. Or you can get on an airplane and go to a European country to use that education to make some money and maybe send back and help your people. Or you can get on that airplane, go to a European nation, the United States, make that money and never look back.
Yeah.
All of these are happening, right? Take Ghana. Ghana right now is struggling to hold on to her nurses. Each year since COVID, England has taken 9,000 plus nurses.
Yeah.
To bolster the medical field here.
Yeah, yeah.
But if something was to happen in Ghana, some type of disease, pathogen, they're in trouble. Major trouble. Yeah. And no one's seeing that. But if that were to happen, who would get blamed? Whoever the sitting administration. They would say, this person, how could they not make sure their health sector is in order? The same England that's extracting these nurses by throwing money.
But I also feel like I read a book the other day. It was about something completely. It was about Nigeria and a minister in Nigeria that stole money. But there was a story about how teachers in universities and lecturers are being treated and not paid in Nigerian universities, and how many of them even are grown up with a Pan-African mindset of like trying to be a contribution to the African society and learning system, school system, but how they're not getting paid, and how they're constantly striking as well, and how they're finding it hard to have studied all these years, are highly intelligent, but can't get anywhere there. And I guess that's a similar thing with nursing. It's just like the level of, you study all these years, and what do you get out of it at the end when you start working in the work environment?
But that's the problem.
Yeah.
We're studying in hopes of working.
Okay.
No, we should be studying in hopes of creating our own. Let's take 10 nurses, 10 teachers. I'm teaching, I'm not getting paid.
Yes.
Okay. Open up your own school. Start small. Privatize.
But
it happened in England.
Yeah.
There was times here in England
schools,
where the teachers weren't, after the World War II, the teachers weren't getting paid. Okay. England couldn't afford to pay their teachers. So how did they recover? Privatize. In America, Before there was a public education in America, it was privatized. You take your education, we're sending people to university and saying, go get educated to get a good job.
To make money, basically.
Right,
yes,
but to get a
yes.
good job, because you're not saying to make, because to make money and to get a good job are two different things. To make money, I don't need to have a job. I need to create a job. I need to create my own thing. What you're doing on social media, you're creating content.
Yes.
You're creating. You're taking whatever you learned in university, utilizing that to create a means by which to spread a message while still being able to support yourself. That's job creation.
Just about.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's still job,
But
because it's going to grow. It's going to grow.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But most of us on the continent, I have nieces and nephews just graduating school.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Well, I'm going to go look for a job. Meanwhile, the people from Lebanon come to Liberia with an 8th grade education, meaning they finish school age 14, 15. But they come and they bring goods in and out. No education. They don't have a PhD.
Yeah.
They don't have a master's.
Yeah.
They don't have a bachelor's. They don't have an associate's.
Yeah.
But they understand commerce. They understand trade. They understand markup.
Yeah.
They understand if I buy this water, this OTC drink.
Lebanese people, even in Ghana, like
in Ghana,
yes,
in
they know
Nigeria,
what they're doing. Yes,
so
business
and they're
people.
not educated. And we, Ghanaian, Liberian, Nigerian, South African, because in South Africa the Asians are there, same way, right?
Yeah.
They understand pooling resource. We used to understand this, but we're buying into this narrative.
Yeah.
This narrative of I'm going to do it alone. Whereas they say, pool your resource.
And it's true, and it's like sometimes we also study, and I can see it in the community as well. Like we studied for this, you know, how Dr. Uma Johnson said, why do you need white man's paperwork? We actually just study for maybe the certificate, but then after that, to get a good job. But then really and truly, do we?
No, you do need it. No, you do need it. Everyone doesn't need it. Some people, we need our carpenters.
Yes.
We need our plumbers.
Yeah.
We need our electricians, right? Those are they call them blue collar in America. They'll say right, blue collar, because they work.
Yeah.
Right, they used to wear blue jumpsuits.
Okay.
White collar is a dress shirt.
Yes.
White collar. Blue collar, we need that.
Yes.
Right? In Ghana, there's a system when you finish your secondary school, you're testing to go to university. If you don't go that way, you have to go towards the skilled laborers. We need that. That's always been in Africa. Everyone wasn't a king. Everybody wasn't a great king of Africa.
Yeah.
We had herdsmen and fishermen and things of that nature. Now, do we need doctors? Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So somebody has to go to school, because when you get sick, Umar Johnson, Dr. Varmah, Sister Linda, if we get sick, we need someone who can treat us.
Yeah.
Right? There are herbal remedies to a point. And then there's a point where the herbs go, no, I'm not for this. You need someone who can operate. Someone has to actually open up the body. We had that. Too many times, those who are academia, the engineers, the doctors, the nurses, the lawyers, etc., they're made to seem or feel that to get educated, you're wasting your time. No, how you use that education. You can use it to empower, to raise funding. And then the other group is told, you're marginalized, you're nominalized. What you do is skilled labor. We don't need you. No, we need both. We don't need either extreme. You cannot develop without one. Remove one, you remove all the technocrats, we'll have problems.
Well, that's what's happening right now all across Europe. Like nobody wants to do the blue collar work anymore, and everybody wants to, I guess, be a content creator or a YouTuber or high up in the office building, or more like working with your brain rather than actually,
working with your hands and your brain.
And it's happening. And I mean, I can sit here and complain, but I'm just the same.
Here's what's going to happen. Life changes in society is going to shift it.
Yes.
It's not a choice.
Yes.
Right? COVID shifted so many people out of the office.
Yeah.
Forced people to become creative. There are people who are right now not knowing what they're going to do. And there's others that said, I've got to adjust. And what we found, I remember at the time, before COVID, there was this whole thing about writing books. And they would say, everything's going digital.
Yeah.
And I had people saying, Dr. Varmah, you got to put your books on digital. I said, no. They said, you got to put your books on digital.
No,
I said, no.
it's not.
They said, if you don't put them on digital, you're going to phase out. I said, no. People like the feel of paper. And digital, once it's in digital, you can't control it because someone downloads.
Yeah.
And,
I've downloaded whole books
right.
on Google.
And so I explained that they were back and forth. But now we're right back where we started.
Yeah.
Technology, cell phones used to be big. They went all the way down to miniature.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're going back big again.
Mm-hmm.
Technology can only go but so far before
Mm-hmm.
it doubles back.
Okay, yeah. So one last questions about the diaspora and African culture and how we relate to it today. There's one question of the game, and I very intentionally created it because in the community, those who are conscious like to refer to everything African culture as right and everything European culture, Western culture as wrong. Now, me being culturally mixed as well, and I feel like you can't really say that. And I do believe in that there's something to take from everywhere and that we are here to pick the best parts and to build from there. So the question of the game was, what parts of African culture should we let go of and which one should we take on to build in the future? And I know that you can't treat African culture as a monolith,
right? About to say.
But then there are still pockets, where I think inherently there are some things like community, for example, which is more of like African things, like a village raises a child, community, togetherness, and things like that. So what would you answer to that question?
Well, I agree with you in so far as Africa's not a monolith.
Yes.
Right? Black Americans are not a monolith.
Yes.
Black British are not a monolith.
Yes.
Right? So I think we've got to always come from that perspective.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Africa, I'm of the mindset or those who say everything comes from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Because at one time there was only Africans on this planet.
Yeah.
There was no Europeans, there was no Asians. All life began in the Nile River Valley, Equatorial Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, depending who you talk to. Life began on that continent.
Yeah.
So everything through the migrations of people leaving that continent, what we're calling European culture, at its core was African-centered. Right? Even the great Greek Empire, they studied Africa. Herodotus, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, all of these went down into Egypt or extracted Egyptian teachings in Nile River Valley African culture. Now, today, what has been deemed African culture today that says, I'm better than you because you weren't born on the continent, I'd let that go. Because I'm saying, as a person born on the continent, we need you that was not born on the continent as much as you need us. You supply us with access to information, access to education in certain aspects, and we supply you with access to culture, access to land, access to resource.
You're talking about the melanated people. Though.
Melanated people. Melanated people of Africa have resource, have language, have cultural or a sense of ability to find culture, because there's a lot of people there that don't have culture, right? They've become more Europeanized than people in Europe.
Colonizers,
right? So it's there.
Mindsets,
The mindset's there.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking of those who have a level of sense. And those of the diaspora, you're bringing with you technological advancements, opportunity, the ability to travel, right? If you have a British passport, you can go anywhere. If you have an American passport, you can go anywhere. It doesn't work that way the other way. So that ability to move, freedom of movement, Africa needs that. Those are the ambassadors, right? When we speak of Africa as a continent, which again is not a monolith, even when I travel, right, and this happens in the Caribbean as well, I'll go to Jamaica, and the first thing a person in Jamaica, just meeting me, be careful when you're here, because Jamaicans, we can't be trusted. We're not good people. I go to Trinidad. Be careful while you're in Trinidad, because we can't be trusted. I go to Ghana. While you're in Ghana, you got to be careful, because And I say, in all the European nations I've gone to, no one's done that.
And it's dangerous here.
It is worse.
Oh my God.
It's worse. But
Yeah.
our propaganda machine, we don't have one. America has an awesome propaganda machine. England,
that's all they have, really and truly.
England has an awesome. England will, the great Queen of England.
Yeah.
She assassinated more African leaders.
Yeah.
But no one even knows it.
Branding galore.
Yeah, they know how to brand.
Yeah.
And so we have to study that. That's what you're doing.
Yes.
Right?
True.
Branding, the ability. We've got to brand Blackness, Africanness, Caribbeanness. We don't brand it properly. Right? I did an interview with I have a younger brother. He's 33 now. I interviewed him 2 years ago. So we sat down and I'm on the video camera and there's a doctor from Trinidad. She's an oral surgeon. She's interviewing him and asking him about Liberia. And he's like, yeah, because, we don't have any water up in the village in a certain area. And so after about an hour, I just stopped filming.
Okay. Yeah.
And he said, what's the matter? I said, okay, I'm trying to get people to want to come here.
Yeah.
That pitch won't do it. Because you just told them everything that's bad.
Yeah.
Everything. You didn't say, and we have a beautiful rainforest and 12 species of parrot, and we're the last tropical rainforest in sub-Saharan Africa, where we have multiple species of mammal. We have a pygmy. No, it was like bad, worse, horrible. And I'm like,
you can say that about everything.
What we do, isn't that the same thing we do in our Black neighborhoods in the West? We say, honestly, yes, if you go, be careful. If we're selling a home, well, we probably ain't gonna get but $30,000 for it anyway. When they're selling a home in a European neighborhood, they go, well, we're close to the tube, and we have buses running through here, and the market is only 5 steps, and there's a park over here with 2 squirrels, and the shops are here. They give you. So we have to, but that's on us, right? We have the diaspora. We grew with propaganda. And we know what it looks like.
I so agree, because I live not around the corner, which is like the heart of Tottenham, and Tottenham is notoriously bad.
Right.
It's to the point where, especially around Black people, when people be like, oh, so where you live? And I'm like, Tottenham. They're like, oh my God, like, why you live? Laughing at me, like, what is a lady like you doing in Tottenham? When I walk outside, like, I see Black people everywhere. I think that's already a privilege for me. I'm at home. I feel like I fit in here. I have Black-owned businesses at every corner almost. I have African produce. There is a sense of like community and home. Sometimes it's like I walk on the street, I hear reggae music, I hear Afro beats. I mean,
so who's behind the propaganda?
Like, and even when it comes to the gang violence, fair enough. Maybe if I had like a young Black teenager boy, I would look at it maybe like, oh, maybe be careful here, because you can easily get sucked in. But as a single woman, that has nothing to do with me. To the point where even sometimes I see these young boys arguing with each other, and I want to pass it like, oh, sorry, miss, and they continue on their argument. They're not gonna like harm me. So just generally how to market the area, and I'll be posting things. I'll be going to the park and things, and people are, oh, where is it? I'm like, well, Tottenham.
But
guess what?
But who's marketing it the other way?
Yeah.
Those who want to gentrify it.
Yeah.
See, gentrification's happening here.
It is, yes.
It's happening.
Yeah.
I'm watching as one Black business goes out, European Turks.
Starbucks moves in, yeah.
And I'm talking about here in Tottenham.
Yeah, it happens already. Right? Starbucks is already here, yeah.
Starbucks is
Tottenham Hill, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I always said Costa Coffee. I won't go there no more. Right. So gentrification, the propaganda is being propagated by those who want to gentrify.
Yeah.
And we, not knowing that, buy into it. Tottenham can't be so bad that they build Tottenham Stadium. You don't build a multi-billion-dollar facility in an area that's so bad without a plan.
I mean, they have a plan, yeah, sure.
Right. You don't build that station. There used to be a IKEA right across. I forget that new station that they built. You don't. What is it called? Angel. You don't build Angel. $1 billion skyscrapers are going up. Housing in the same area. That's so bad.
I mean, yes, you do, because
people are saying that, no. Again, how do you drive down the cost to be able to buy out the people.
Yeah.
You have to create a false stereotype.
Oh, yeah.
I watched it. I grew up in New York.
Devalue.
You gotta devalue so I can buy it cheap.
Thought of it like
That's
that.
business.
That's the whole plan to
That's
make
the
it bad
plan.
in the first place.
It's bad. It's horrible. They're killing people. But I see the Hasidim moving in, riding their bikes. I see at the bus stop just now as we drove past, 4 white women waiting on the bus. It's so horrible. But once you can create the narrative, and there's an old saying that says, all it takes is for you to tell the lie over and over and over again, and it becomes the truth. So that's what happens. Gentrification is, the first phase of gentrification is to tell you that this crime in this area has reached 72%. 5 people got raped last night. 2 men were shot. Oh, the drug dealers, the police, turn on the sirens. Whoa, cops, you hear sirens all day. Now you begin to say, man, crime's picked up in the area. Yeah. No, the sirens have picked up. You don't know if crime's picked up.
This is what I was thinking. I remember when there was this COVID going on, I just felt like there was so much like sirens all the time. I was like...
To keep you agitated.
Like, come on. I was like, to the point, I mean, I live here and I know there's a lot of sirens, but to the point where I was like, come on, guys.
In the military, we had a thing called psych ops.
Oh, you went to the military? Yes. Okay, interesting.
And in psych ops, we're trained how to infiltrate a society, alter their own concept of themselves, to get our agenda across. They literally train us how to do it. You take control of media and communications. If you control the media, we're now exporting, quote unquote, white American concept of Black America to Africa.
Well, hold on.
Let me tell you why I say that.
Repeat that,
okay.
Please.
White American concept of Black America is what's being exported to Africa. Love and hip hop is not real.
American
concept, because the people producing the show Love and Hip Hop are not Black.
And you know what? Actually, there's one thing I started having. I used to go to Ghana for New Year's a lot. And at the year I stopped going is when I just like, they have like all these parties now and things like that. And when I started feeling this, like, there was this vibe, this like very westernized vibe, which is like all great. And this is why so many people are going there now. That's what people want to see. But I just felt like it didn't feel... It didn't feel authentic. It doesn't have to be traditional that everybody's wearing kente and stuff, but it was an energy in the air. And it just became about showing off and who pops the most bottles and this materialistic capitalist way of showing the world like you are the most best, and it's this ego-driven kind of capitalistic materialist energy.
But of course you're going to see that. If we have a generation of us and on that have grown up watching Puff Daddy and Jay-Z and Jermaine Dupri flossing money and making it rain and driving the sports car and Beyonce, then yeah, that's what's going to happen.
And David Banner once said, if money is your God, then you'll always be a slave to the white man.
Right.
And that's true? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you have 100%. To really think deeper into it.
You have to understand what the agenda is.
Yeah.
So they've exported all of these Black entertainment is not owned by Black people. It's not directed by Black people. It's not being produced by Black people. It's not being written about by Black people.
Yeah.
It's being acted out by Black people.
Yeah.
So someone's false notion, and because life imitates art more than art imitates life, if I keep showing you the same art.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So you're saying, because there's this discussion about artists showcasing and talking about negative things, but then people be like, but it's art and they're just talking about the experience. So you are saying the art was there before the reality?
Of course.
Really?
Because you have to envision what you're going to become. You imagine before you came on set, you have to set up the camera, and you're envisioning what you want the shot to look like, and you're envisioning which things behind us you want in the shot, and okay, I don't want that right now in this shot. You have to see it before you do it. Mind precedes action. Actions precede results. We are a people that no longer understand that holistically. So we think I can leave out what I'm thinking and only go off of what I'm doing. Don't judge me by what I think, only judge me by what I show you, when in fact, I should find out what you're thinking, because what you think you're apt to become. If I'm treating you nice, but inside I hate you, you might want to know that, because I'm setting you up for the ultimate kill.
And I also feel like deep down, you also know that if somebody treats you nice but they don't like you inside.
No, you don't know it.
Don't you think?
No.
I feel like someone is super
No.
in tune. I feel like I know.
If you're connected to that person, you'll know.
Okay.
But if you're not inherently plugged into that person, no. That's what psychops, that's what psychology is. It's the study of human emotions and reactions. Psychiatry is the study of the human brain and how it interacts with hormones. So if you don't know this person's hormonally imbalanced, you don't know. That's what a sociopath and a psychopath that can walk through society, be a Boy Scout leader, and be a mass murderer. Living next door to people for 30 years, and they say, "You're such a great guy. He coached all the kids in the neighborhood. He took everybody fishing. His wife baked everyone pies." And then they find out they have people buried in their basement. How's that possible?
Yeah.
A mask can be presented, a false reality. So we have to peer past that. Stop wanting people to be what we would like them to be, and accept people for what they show you themselves as being. You understand? See, Black America, Black Africa, Black Europe, we want to believe that the power structure of the world is one day going to wake up and say, "We've been treating you wrong. We're so sorry. We're going to give you, look, here's everything. We're sorry. Take it back." And by the way, here's some other. That's never going to happen. I don't care how many marches, how much prayer, how many candles. You want liberation, you got to stand and take it. And I don't mean by violence, but by using your mind and understanding no one's coming to help you. No one is going to do right by you. Everyone is benefiting off your suffering. The Lebanese are benefiting off the suffering of the African. The East Indians are benefiting, or that's just a reality. You not knowing who you are, what you are, is to their benefit. So you have to do everything in your power. I use the analogy all the time. We say, you can't send a lion cub to be educated by a hyena and expect the lion cub to be sane.
To be a positive contribution
to the lions. Right.
It's not possible.
So, but so many of us believe that. We believe that if I say I don't see color, but we do. We see hues. I don't see race, but we do. I don't see gender, but we do. So somebody's telling us I see gender. I see a woman. I see a man. When I see a woman, I want to hold the door for her because that's what I was taught. But you don't need to hold the door. I know I don't need to, but I want to. Not because you're less than me, not because you can't hold the door, but because that's what I was raised, that you hold the door for a lady, you pull out the chair. Yeah, but that's the old ways of like, okay, and then now, okay, another guy comes along and says, "You're right, we're equal." And now he wants to be in women's sports. And now he's beating up women, but we can't stop it because you said we're equal. And now he's getting all the awards by beating women. Is that right? We've got to start the narrative. People, we can't keep buying into someone else's narrative and wonder why our condition's not changing. So we say, Sankofa, go back, retrace the past. Find those things from the past that benefit us. Blueprint the present with those things that benefit.